Good morning, team. Today is Tuesday, April 7th. Today we are in our Unit 8 and we are going to talk about competitive relationships. If you haven't completed your Hello Morning survey, please stop the video and go do that now. I'll wait for you to come back. Okay, let's start off with our science and COVID-19 facts of the day. So we know that everyone has been telling us to wash our hands. And yesterday we learned about the half-life of the virus. And we learned that it lasts a really long time on surfaces like stainless steel and plastic. So how does soap actually kill the coronavirus? Let's watch this video.
You know that the best way to prevent the spread of coronavirus is to wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands! But why? It's because soap, regular soap, fancy honeysuckle soap, artisan peppermint soap, just any soap, absolutely annihilates viruses like the coronavirus. Here's how. This is what a virus, like coronavirus, looks like. It's a bit of material surrounded by a coating of proteins and fat. Viruses easily stick to places like your hands, but when you rinse your hands with just water, it rushes right over the virus. That's because that layer of fat makes the virus behave kind of like a drop of oil. You can see it happening in this demonstration. Oils are just liquid fats. What happens when you pour oil into water? It floats. It doesn't mix. But add soap, and suddenly that fatty oil dissolves into the water. That's because inside, soap has two-sided molecules. One end of the molecule is attracted to water, the other end to fat. So when the soap molecules come in contact with water and fat, these dual attractions literally pull the fat apart, surrounding the oil particles and dispersing them through the water. Let's go back to our coronavirus molecule with that layer of fat holding everything together. When it interacts with soap, bam, that fat gets pulled out by the soap. Soap literally pulls apart and demolishes these viruses. And then the water rinses the harmless leftover shards of virus down the drain. But, and you know where I'm going with this, it takes time for this effect to happen. 20 seconds to be specific. To show why, we ordered this lotion that mimics viruses and their fatty layers. It glows under a UV light. If you just rinse your hands under regular water, nothing comes off. If you wash with soap for just 5 seconds or 10 seconds, your hands are still covered. The virus is still there, able to get you and others sick. But 20 full seconds, now the soap is actually destroying the virus. Hand sanitizer works too because it's mostly alcohol, and alcohol works in a somewhat similar way to soap, breaking down that fatty layer. You need a high concentration of alcohol to make that work. The CDC recommends hand sanitizers with at least 60% alcohol. But even with 60% alcohol, the CDC recommends using soap if you can. If your hands are sweaty or dirty when you use the sanitizer, that can dilute it and diminish its effectiveness. As for soap, just any old soap works. You don't need soap marketed as antibacterial even. The FDA says skip it. There's no proof it's any more effective. Just be sure to wash your hands for 20 seconds. That's happy birthday twice.
Happy birthday, dear. I guess me.
Or the chorus to Lizzo's Truth Hurts.
Straight to my face.
Or Prince.
Raspberry beret.
Or Eminem.
Go, go, only go.
Or even Dolly.
Jolene, Jolene, Jolene.
Just as long as it's 20 seconds. And you're using the ultimate virus annihilator, soap.
Okay, team, so now it's your turn. I want you to go to this post in Google Classroom, and I want you to add a comment that tells me what's your favorite hand washing song. So what's the song that you sing when you're washing your hands? In our house, we sing the ABCs twice because that's what my kids do, and it's an easy way for us to remember to wash for that full 20 seconds to get rid of that virus. So I'll give you a second to go over to Google Classroom and write your comment. What's your favorite hand washing song? Great, so now let's jump into our science lesson for today. Today we're going to talk about competitive relationships. Last week we learned about how organisms compete for abiotic, which are non-living, and biotic, which are living factors in an ecosystem. In your classwork we had the question, what is competition? And here's some standout scholar responses. Nasser said a competition is when two or more individuals struggle to get the same resources. An example would be snakes fighting other snakes for the mice, as well as mice fighting other mice for the bluebonnets. Patricia said competition is when the same type of animal is fighting for something that they need, for example, food. They fight for it so they could survive. And finally, Yarnelli said competition is the struggle to get the same resources. An example would be snakes fighting other snakes and even birds to get mice. So snaps to those scholars. I love that all of these scholars use the word resources, okay? So we use the word resources. What do we need to survive? So our objective for today is we're actually going to differentiate interspecific and intraspecific competition and provide examples of each. In order to do that, we're going to do some reading and then we're going to actually play a game. So the reading is competitive relationships and ecosystems. And now you're going to go to the next slide to continue the reading.